What's going on, guys? Mark here from NoisyPixel.net, back with yet another tech video, and today we have a new controller from Corsair and SCUF known as the Valor Pro wired controller. Just want to say thank you for Corsair SCUF for sending out the Valor Pro wired controller. Very excited to try out the most inexpensive controller SCUF has released to date. Apparently that's what they said, at least a pro controller. But without further ado, let's get this product open so then we can get the review going. Dust flapping it. Okay, and then the first reveal of the controller, it's actually just sitting in the box right there. So it actually has a great looking gray color. I'm just looking at the camera right now, but it looks pretty nice. Let's go through the unboxing part. We have a cable at the top. Very thick, rigid braided cable, so excited to use this. This little thing fell out. I don't know if it's just a spacer in the box or if it actually has product in it. All right, yeah, so don't lose this little thing. It has something in it. This little white box has replaceable back buttons. It's hard to see there, but let's keep going. We have to look at the cable still. Let's see how long it is. Again, very thick cable, not a flimsy one. Fine by me, seems durable. Very long cable, actually. I think this is looking like a 10-footer. I didn't read the box, but this is definitely longer than me. So not gonna be short on cable when gaming, far from the TV. But let's move on to the next part of the box. So far we have replaceable back buttons, braided cable. At the bottom of the box, we have these joysticks here. I'm speechless. Pretty nice feeling joystick, very different. Very different texture. It has a lot of like rigid rubber cuts on the side of it, but then it's kind of smooth on the top. Very, the multi-surface feeling is quite interesting. Very original feeling on this control stick, I would say. The control sticks they provided in the box are actually two different sizes, so if you prefer to have that little extra sniper height, sometimes I like using those taller control sticks. Sometimes I find they are just more difficult to use, but to each their own. The final step of the unboxing, as far as I'm concerned, we have to take out the SCUF Valor Pro, hopefully nothing under it. It looks like it just pops right out just like this. It's a little stuck in there, but we got it. Before we go over the best part of the unboxing, the controller, let's check under here. Nothing is under there. QR code on the ground. But nonetheless, here is the brand new SCUF Valor Pro wired controller. It actually feels phenomenal in the hand. This texture is like this high friction. It's high friction, but it's very smooth at the same time. They have this back grip here, but I don't really know if this is gonna help a sweaty hand palmer. In general, first impressions of the controller, very clean looking. Feels great in the hand. The shape is very ergonomic to my big hands, as you can see. I do cover a lot of the controller, but I feel like there's a spot for everything. My fingers line up perfectly with these back paddles here, and they're not too easily pressed. I really kind of have to press them in, which is better than other controllers where you accidentally click the back buttons. And then on my middle fingers here, we have these very clicky other back paddles. But in general, I think these back paddles are most likely the best placed and best feeling back paddles I've used on a controller in a while. Typically the back paddles of controllers do upset me, and this one doesn't really make me upset yet. Some fun unboxing tasks we have to do is just take this plastic off, boom. Underneath the plastic, we actually have these volume dials right here, conveniently placed. Feels pretty high quality. All the buttons sound pretty normal to Xbox, very OEM sounding. I like that. Doesn't really sound too aftermarket. The D-pad is a little different. It's a little smaller, I would say, and it has a nice click to it. I also love these orange highlights here. Although it is a wired controller, we love to see that there is a removable USB-C at the top. It's not a wireless controller, you can't charge it up, but at least you can use your own braided cable, whether you want a short one, a long one, or your OEM cable breaks. Always appreciate a removable cable. We do not like built-in cables. Controller feels pretty light, honestly. Very free, moving in the hands. It has a nice weight to it, but it's not like too heavy where like the older Xbox controllers really had some weight to it. This is a little bit lighter. There's actually a profile button in the back center too. I think the only thing we haven't tried out is the customizable triggers. So they're actually not, you can't really customize where the triggers lie. It's gonna be all or nothing. It's gonna be the full length of the controller, or if you hit these switches on the back, then it's only gonna make it a hair trigger, and it feels like a mouse. They were advertising that this kind of feels like a mouse click, a very instantaneously response, and it definitely feels like that. This is probably the best hair trigger I felt in a while as well. I'm worried that I'm actually gonna wind up breaking these. I'd like to think I pressed down at like a pretty aggressive press, so I think eventually I'm just gonna wind up breaking this, but maybe I won't. But in general, a very nice system. I love the feeling of these hair triggers, and I probably would wind up using them a lot based on how easy it is to switch and how they feel. So to change the control sticks on this device, it's actually just gonna be a magnetic plate on the top. It just pops out really easily, just like that. Just comes off very simply, but it doesn't just fall off without actually prying your nail under it a little. So that's what the controller is going to look like underneath. It's pretty cool looking, but that's going to allow us to get access to the control sticks, where we can just pop them out. You just really have to rip it off. That's what it kind of looks like without the control stick in there. So we're just going to quickly pop a new one on, make it simple. Boom. Okay, easy win. And then we're going to slide this right over. Boom, easy click. Lastly, before we go to the review, let's just plug this in so we can see the lights on camera for you guys. I had to turn on my computer, so sorry for the fan noise, but here we go. First impressions turn on. You're gonna let me turn this thing on for once? Oh, here we go. We have a response finally. The controller turned on its own. I don't think I did anything. But we have this nice stylish LED light up here. But let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Let's get to the review. This has been Mark with NoisyPixel.net. Full impressions, opinions, and review of the SCUF Valor Pro wired controller. Stick around for the review.
By now, most people know the SCUF name due to their time in the game. Amongst the flooded aftermarket controller category lies the grandfather to the back paddle buttons. Although it has been 14 years since they made their name in console controller design, they continue releasing new products, and now we have the SCUF Valor Pro wired controller for $99.99 and built for Xbox and PC. Let's speak on why this new hardware is extremely competitive in the post-OEM category. Unlike a stock Xbox controller, the SCUF Valor Pro wired has a beautifully smooth gray finish that contains tasteful accented logo prints. If you are into hyperfine surfaces, this grip is for you, and the top side remains grippy even with sweaty palm syndrome. Speaking of which, the backside has a unique rubber grip with macro-sized cuts created explicitly for those with slippery hands. I'm somewhat indifferent about the grip pattern itself, but I like the extra texture to contrast the buttery front. The Valor Pro is just a friendly feeling controller all around. Additionally, I have really big hands, and the Valor Pro has a fully intentional grip and button placement. When I hold the controller, it feels as though every cut, curl, or groove is carefully decided. This is exactly what SCUF was going for in the design, and it does show. For small hands or claw-like grips, the smaller back buttons are more available. For me, my middle fingers lie perfectly on the handle paddles. Luckily, they are favorably harder to press, unlike the more sensitive smaller back macros, but SCUF conveniently created these as removable and coverable for those who tend to mash uncontrollably. Even though the back paddles default to ABXY via the shooter profile, you can program them to any button other than the Xbox button and the audio wheel clicks. You can remove a paddle input altogether by mapping the share button to said macro. This ability is fantastic for those not interested in accidental button mashing, and I also took advantage of disabling the buttons from time to time. I didn't use the sports profile because I don't play sports games, but I thoroughly tested the shooter and racer profiles. And at first I thought the shooter profile would be the only one I'd ever use, but after giving the racing profile some time, I really liked how the trigger throttle graph was way more natural and authentic to a gas pedal. In Forza, throttle response is more even, thus reducing over throttle. You have to use the entire trigger length to step on the gas fully, whereas the trigger depression range on the shooter profile works for speed and not accuracy. I tested semi-auto gameplay in Fortnite and Call of Duty in the shooter profile so I could tackle the mouse click trigger system, and I must say, it plays as amazing as it feels. A bit stiff rather, and hard to get used to, but it allows me to click way faster with my pointer finger, rather than switch to my middle finger. It's actually remarkable to feel controller triggers respond like a mouse click, and when using this feature in skill-based semi-auto shooters like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, and more, the competitive bullets per second bar is raised. I would guess these mouse-like paddles will break faster than others though, but I could be wrong. It's probably the best fast trigger system on a controller I've ever used, but again, it's really stiff. The bumpers are well thought out in terms of various gamer grips, and they even allow the inside of your pointer fingers to hit the bumpers, keeping your fingertips on the triggers. You basically have access to every button on the controller without lifting a finger. The Valor Pro is loaded with 3 profiles, shooter, sport, and racing, but you can nicely customize these to any formation you want. Each profile is labeled by a specific LED color at the top of your controller. Oh yeah, did I mention there is no RGB on the Valor Pro other than the profile indicators? Well, now I did. Sorry RGB lovers, but SCUF went simple and stylish on this controller. When it comes to SCUF playing it simple here, they add to that mentality by having no integrated PC or console software to configure the controller. It's not necessary though. Finally, an easy to use device without all these hyper detailed gimmicks nested all over the place. SCUF wins again, I think, in this one. The fun doesn't stop. The magnetic faceplate of the SCUF Valor Pro wire comes easily off by simply wedging your nails softly between the covers. It comes off easily, but only when you want it to, which is a positive. Underneath lies the guts, but for a good reason. The control sticks are removable, allowing the user to choose between 3 different stick choices provided by SCUF: rounded, concave, or tall, all with unique advantages. The sticks seem cheap but still durable, and SCUF went with the Hall effect magnetic direction here, answering to gamers' wants and needs for longer lasting sticks. Simply rip the sticks out, no tools are needed. SCUF does plan on releasing various color palettes worth of colors to customize and purchase for your Valor Pro. Unfortunately, you can only change the faceplate, D-pad, and friction rings, leaving other buttons the default colors, so choose wisely. They also plan on offering different colored D-pads and friction rings. I highly recommend keeping those orange rings in there for a smoother feel, but if you like a notchy feel, then pop them out. The D-pad simply pops out by magnets as well. The SCUF Valor Pro wired is USB-C to USB-A and only wired, not wireless at all, but does have a removable cable. Nobody likes throwing out a perfectly good piece of equipment because of a bad internal cable, so at least SCUF isn't trying to kneecap their design, and it's appreciated. The braided cable provided is about 10 feet, which is more than enough, and is rigid and strong yet flexible. A perfect mix of strength and length. That's what she said. Speaking of not kneecapping the design, the SCUF Valor Pro allows players to quickly mute and change volumes of chat and game by providing an onboard audio dial system that works wonders. Click the dial to insta-mute your loud friend when you need to listen for the enemy, or raise the volume when you need it. It's a clever system that doesn't look ugly. Instead, it fits in as a premium feature. This system only works if your 3.5mm wired headset is plugged in, but it does work for both Xbox and PC surprisingly, as I expected it to not work on PC, so kudos to SCUF for proving me wrong here. The audio fidelity is bogged down by the controller audio jack, but if wired is all you got, then that's all you got. It is unfortunate that output quality is compressed compared to using a separate wireless headset or other audio solution, but I digress. At least they can serve all the customer types with the cheapest ever listed SCUF Pro controller. Although everything seems well placed in the Valor Pro wired, I didn't like the change of placement of the menu buttons, as I'm so used to reaching for it. The button is placed correctly right under the thumbstick for the quickest click, but I have to retrain years of thumb accuracy to hit the menu button. It's just a personal thing, I guess. The menu buttons, A, B, X, Y, and the Xbox button all feel sufficiently of quality for the price, and while the A, B, X, Y set feels like a standard Xbox controller, in a good way, the menu and Xbox buttons feel standout and well suited to the scheme of the Valor Pro. A very strong, matte, machined vibe. The SCUF Valor Pro wired has a great D-pad as well, a standout feature of this review. It may look small, deceiving, and maybe a little cheap, but once you use it, you will realize how well crafted it is. It has a great a firm, quick responsive click, and uniform haptic feedback. The size does work in this format, as the Valor Pro seems smaller than most controllers. Circling back, the Valor Pro is very light, weighing in at 0.57 pounds. It's a feather compared to other controllers out there, and it's so light that it makes me want this device to be wireless, but that's a separate conversation. Regarding the bumpers and triggers, I could have gone for a bit more texture or tactile response, but they work as intended. They have quick clicks and are responsive, with a smooth but durable feeling plastic. Also, there will be a 1000Hz polling rate update coming soon. For those who really care about intricate performance in that regard, SCUF tailors to all customers. I don't even see how having 1000Hz on a controller will outperform someone that has 1000Hz on a mouse, because it's just more accurate still, but it does scratch the itch for those looking to maximize performance. If you are comfortable with spending a little over the base price of an Xbox controller and also don't mind wired products, you cannot go wrong with the SCUF Valor Pro wired controller. It's a cleanly designed, modern take on competitive edge gaming while also considering a variety of demographics. The Valor Pro is also considerably cheaper than all Pro controllers out there, and yeah, it may not offer 200 different pieces in the box, but it serves the buyers exactly what they are looking for. A cheaper alternative to a fancy controller. And I think the Valor Pro wins in this regard. Some major criticism lies within the materials, texture, and feel of the triggers, bumpers, and control sticks specifically, but I am nitpicking. The Valor Pro is a stellar product and is my new go-to controller. Sometimes less is just simply more. Noisy Pixel is giving the SCUF Valor Pro wired controller an A. Side note, I would love to see this controller configuration in a wireless format, but I am unsure as to how that would affect the price, size, or weight for that matter of the unit. These are just dreams. Thank you for watching. Noisy Pixel is a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all of our future content. See ya, nerds.
Joysticks.